syndicated talk show host, also political commentator Angela Rye, and senior media correspondent Brian Stelter, the host of Reliable Sources. To you first, Mr. Prager. I want you to answer the question that Dana poses in her piece. Why is Donald Trump pushing out questionable claims and conspiracy theories by citing many people to back it up?
I have no good answer for you. That is the way his brain operates. I am stuck with the 17th of my choices. Any of the other 17 would have been preferable to me. That he comes with baggage. But I think I'm going to say something that will sound shocking, but it is not meant at all to shock. I would say that all of them put together are inconsequential compared to the president and many, like at the New York Times and Democrats generally, who purvey the notion, many say that police disproportionately kill blacks because they're black, when in fact that has been shown to be false, even in a New York Times report just from a few weeks ago with a black professor of economics at Harvard who studied the whole issue and found that, in fact, blacks were disproportionately less killed. So when we talk about purveying conspiracy theories, the left has it over Trump in spades.
Okay, that's not what the studies have shown, by the way. There are some very, well-respected studies that show that is not true, Dennis. But
Don, you and I very rarely disagree. We disagree on opinion, but very rarely on facts.
Yeah, there have been a number of fact checks that we have looked. I did a whole thing, black, white, and blue. I've done a number of fact checks that show that blacks are disproportionately affected by police brutality.
No, affected, yes.
Blacks are shot.
Affected, but not shot to death.
Blacks are shot more often by police than whites.
So the black Harvard professor's report you're saying is inaccurate?
No, it's not inaccurate. I've gone through this before. That is a very small study. If I have to go through this, we're getting off topic here. It's a very small study of 10 police departments, and just at their polling that is accepted by certain news organizations or certain people that are deemed to be credible. That particular one was not deemed to be credible because the sampling size was so small. But let's move on. We'll debate that another time. So I spoke with Fareed Zakaria last week, who calls Trump a BS artist. Is that what it comes down to? He's just throwing out things, blatant lies to see what sticks, just to raise some doubts?
Are you talking to me, or I'm sorry? I don't know who you're addressing.
To you.
Oh, I'm sorry. So ask it again. I was sure you were asking I'm always worried about taking up too much time. So
that's okay. Fareed Zakaria, when I spoke to him last week, he called Donald Trump a BS artist. Okay. And I'm wondering why he throws these things out that are blatant lies, just to see what sticks or to raise doubt.
The first time I was on with you, I said what I still believe. There is a minimal filter between Donald Trump's brain and Donald Trump's mouth. It is, as I said, the baggage that comes with this man, and if one can live with it, one lives with it. If one can live with the baggage that comes with Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, then you live with that. Hillary Clinton was given 4 Pinocchios by, of all places, the Washington Post last week for lying. That's the highest amount of lying I think you can do, 4 Pinocchios. It got almost no attention compared to this utterly silly comment about the NRA. This is what we on the right have to live with. There is a disproportionate amount of attention paid to the nonsense that comes from him.
Can we stop for a second? You just said it was silly. You just said his comment was silly. A lot of Americans tonight are very, very concerned about what he said about the Second Amendment. They're very concerned about the specter of political violence. Calling it silly. Calling it silly to dismiss people's fears.
I do dismiss. I dismissed people's fears about heterosexual AIDS in America. I dismiss people's fears about the planet being destroyed.
You can't come on television and lie about fact-checking. Talk about 4 Pinocchios. Talk about the Washington Post fact-checking. I'm glad they're fact-checking all the candidates, by the way. There's a lot of fact-checking to be done about Hillary Clinton. But Donald Trump has earned many more 4 Pinocchio rankings than Hillary Clinton has. That's a fact. Why cherry pick? Why are you out cherry picking?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I consider her lies to be far more significant than his. Okay. When she was secretary, that's why. I agree with you.
That's fair, but I just think it's important to note that Trump has received many more of those.
So then,
why are her lies more significant than his?
Because as Secretary of State, what this woman did was to put her power and interest and money ahead of the country's security. There's nothing that Trump has done that comes close to that.
And how is that a lie? How is that? How do you fact check that? Like, what is the truth about that?
No, I'm talking about the emails. What she has said about the emails. That's where she got the 4 Pinocchios last week from the Washington Post. But why it's more significant?
But here's what I have to say, Dennis. That's one lie, and if you can, however you want to deem that she continues to repeat. It's not something that happens every week. Like, you know, Donald Trump had a chance, 3 or 4 chances this week, to be on top of the headlines, to have positive headlines about him, negative headlines about Hillary Clinton. Instead, he keeps stepping on it by either doing something that is false about the Iranian scientist, tweeting that out last night, then doing the Second Amendment comment. How can we not cover that as a news organization? He does it almost every single day instead of one lie that continues to be repeated or continues to be fumbled.
I go back to the significance issue. I'm no big defender of this guy, Don, as you know.
Yeah.
Don?
But let him finish, and I'll get you an answer. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah. The issue of the President of the United States saying, hey, $400 million in cash, that wasn't a ransom. Do you, Don, think that was true, what the President said?
Listen, we're going on to something else.
Well, yes, but that's my point.
We're going into something else. That is the moment that is fact checked, and we will discuss it, and we will discuss all the nuances of that.
Okay.
But that is not something that is as simple and as cut and dry as just asking a question about that.
But it's infinitely more significant.
Yes, but also the State Department was involved. There's also national intelligence involved. There's also a history. The president also said that Josh Earnest held a press conference and told you about this back in April. So, it's not as cut and dry as like, did he just flat out lie about it? But that's a whole nother show. Angela, go ahead and get in on that.
Okay, so let me just chime in on Donald Trump being fact-checked. There was a CNN town hall, HuffPost reported on this. Donald Trump was averaging a lie a minute. So whether or not we want to call this significant or not, he's launched all-out assaults on other presidential candidates' characters, on their fathers. He perpetuated a lie that was National Enquirer worthy about a JFK assassination attempt and Ted Cruz's father. So these are very serious things we're talking about here. We talked earlier about the Second Amendment and him saying that Hillary Clinton wants to abolish the Second Amendment. That has been debunked over and over again. Yes. These are egregious lies, and now it goes to character. There have been Pinocchio after Pinocchio. They say that Donald Trump lies 75% of the time in PolitiFact. It has been very, very clear that he has a tremendous problem with lying. Whether it's BS artist, as Fareed called it, or not, there's a problem with truth-telling here.
I feel like my nose is growing just talking about Pinocchio so much here. It's kind of awkward.
All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Stay with me. We're going to talk more about this. Trump keeps saying the election will be rigged. We're going to fact-check that next. Donald Trump has been saying that he believes the election will be rigged. Back with me now, Dennis Prager, Angela Rye, and Brian Stelter. And we're joined now by Ryan Godfrey. He's the Inspector of Elections for Philadelphia. Ryan, welcome to the panel. Donald Trump likes to talk about how he thinks the election is rigged against him. Watch this.
In theory, it should be the easiest, but it's a rigged system. It's a totally rigged system. The elections are rigged.
And I'm afraid the election's going to be rigged, I have to be honest. Because I think my side was rigged.
And I'm telling you, November 8th, we better be careful because that election's going to be rigged.
Okay, so Ryan, you shot off a series of 24 tweets after Sean Hannity raised doubts over how Romney votes were counted back in Philadelphia in 2012. And here's what you wrote, okay? You said, I am an inspector of elections for a Philly voting division, independent, but was a Republican as recently as June. Number 2, people like me sign off on election results on every division in Philly. We take jobs seriously, certifying the accurate will of all people, And then number 3, you said, claim that 59 divisions of Philadelphia engaged in electoral fraud in 2012 because of votes for Romney is absurd and personally insulting. So what do you think when you hear Trump saying that the system is rigged?
Well, I'm not a hyperbolic person generally, but I probably am a little hyperbolic about this. Our system of free and fair elections is the foundation of democracy. It's what everything else we're trying for here is built on. And obviously there are problems. There are things that could be better. We need to improve access to the polls. and that's certainly true. There are problems, of course, but when someone comes in and says something that they don't know anything about specifically Philadelphia elections, without looking at the facts, without looking at what happened, it's kind of insulting to me personally, and kind of feels like Brian said the other day, it's unpatriotic. This is a little bit of kicking dirt on the American flag, I think.
It's like a little bit of knowledge is a bad thing, right? You know, these conspiracy theories, they take root. Sometimes in conservative media, it happens on the left too, but in conservative media, it's like a snake eating its tail. Sean Hannity hears something, then Donald Trump hears it, then Trump talks about it to Sean Hannity, thinks it's new, and it's like it goes round and round and round without getting the facts
But that's
straight.
the whole thing. It's like the facts, what we've been saying, if you repeat, we were just talking to Dennis about this, you complete a conspiracy theory or a lie
and you
so
say
often,
it enough. That's
you
right.
say it enough, people are going to believe it. And
That's
so
why I think tonight is, if I can say about the Second Amendment people, tonight is related to the rigged election. Rigged election is related to Trump's other conspiracy theories. They're all related. They're all of a piece because they're all about a broader story that Donald Trump is telling.
Yeah.
And the story is not supported by the facts. You know, last week he said that thousands of radical Islamic terrorists have been allowed into the United States. Think about that.
Yeah.
He said thousands of Islamic terrorists have been allowed inside the United States. People barely notice because he says so much that has to be fact-checked. We can barely keep up. But he's saying things that are flatly untrue, and they all buy into this larger storyline that the system is against the American people.
Well, that's the whole thing that
it
we
does
have.
add up to a danger.
But that's the whole thing that you hear, and it's not just from Donald Trump. You hear it from a lot of folks, especially, I think, more so during this election. We talk about police violence. When Dennis was just talking about, but it doesn't matter. The fact checks don't matter. I think many times people want their beliefs reinforced, and if you're on television, you're trying to point out, even sometimes calmly, like this person is lying to you, just because they're saying it loudly. It does not mean that they're actually right.
It's because this is a gut election, right? This is an election in our guts. But that's why the Sean Hannitys of the world, conservative leaders, have to speak out. They can't let Trump.
Sean Hannity tonight basically shaped Donald Trump's response, saying, "Oh, but the media didn't say." It's like,
it's a shame.
Yeah,
it's a shame. It was a missed opportunity.
Let me get Dennis in. Dennis, you say that Trump's rigged election comments are. You believe that they're terrible. So why do you think he's raising these doubts?
As I said, I think he says whatever he emotes. It's, as I said, each candidate comes with their baggage. I said to you the first night that I was on your program.
But is that acceptable to you?
I am proud.
Dennis?
I am proud as a conservative about the amount of angst that we feel about his character. But there is no corresponding angst among liberals about the character of Hillary Clinton. We care more about character than liberals do. That's what I will say.
There are a lot of people that are concerned about Hillary Clinton. And listen, I get your point.
No, about her views, not her character. You never hear it. You never hear it.
I'll take you at face value. All right, let's just say that. I'll let you have that. But then how, considering all these remarks that we hear every single day, and so you had 50 very well-respected people who know foreign policy and security coming out yesterday, how then can one in good conscience, as a conservative, say, this is the guy for me?
Because if one believes as I do, this is the larger picture of all, if one believes as I do that the left is damaging my country perhaps irreparably, as it is doing to Western civilization in Europe as well, undermining the basic values of the society, I know that that's not how a nice, sweet person on the left wakes up in the morning. I understand that. Half of my relatives are on the left, and I love them. I understand that. But that is the damage. Look, take the university. The university has been damaged terribly. It has become a place of indoctrination and virtually no free speech versus what it was in the past.
Can I jump in here, Dennis?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Ryan, please.
Defend what the left does at the university.
You're talking about a lot of things here, but fundamentally, if you agree with me that the free and fair election is the most important thing that we're building everything else on, isn't that more important than what's going on in academia? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about the basis of everything.
Well, it's not the basis of everything because I think a lot of people just dismiss what he says when he makes these hyperbolic statements. But you can't dismiss what is happening at the university where conservatives are shut down if they speak. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So
what happens if Trump loses the election?
Right, and he yells rigged.
And suddenly there are people who are saying...
He's already yelling rigged because he's afraid of these polls. And I think the reality of it is there are several people people who look like me, who have felt like they have been locked out of an electoral system for decades. We finally had some relief with the Voting Rights Act of 1968, which the Supreme Court gutted with Shelby versus Holder. Then you have these states who are passing voter suppression laws, voter ID laws. Trump goes to North Carolina and says that he supports the very act, the very piece of legislation that the appeals court just said is not constitutional. That is a major problem.